The Fuji X10 versus a smartphone. So which one takes the better photos? Welcome photographers around the globe to have a look at whether an old Fuji X10 is a better option for photographs than one of these, a modern smartphone. Now just before we dive in, could you take 1 second to subscribe or hit the thumbs up? It would help me grow my channel and bring more photography content to YouTube. So let's go. A few months ago, I did a review of my favourite travel camera, the Fuji X10. I love this little camera. Its beautiful retro looks and magnificent fast lens. It's a wide to medium tele lens, 2 to 2.8, astounding at this price range, and it's so cheap. And did I mention its beautiful looks? Sorry. 1 or 2 viewers have commented on its small sensor size.
Hey, small sensor, that's just rude.
No, to be honest, I think they've got a point. You see, compared to a newer DSLR, a mirrorless system, bridge camera, or even a new compact, it's not the biggest sensor. Thing is, in my humble opinion, people can get a little bit too preoccupied with sensor size and megapixels, and they sometimes undervalue camera's processor and its lens, and most important to me, its usability. You see, I'm a pro photographer, have been for 35 years, and I know that people are really into cameras. And a lot of people love the techie stuff, how one sensor's 0.5 pixels more than another, weighs 17 grams less, has a screen with more than 1,000 dots more. Look, there are brilliant reviewers all over YouTube that look into that stuff. They'll tell you exactly what specs the camera have, inside and out. But that's not me. No, I'm a pro. I know I'm only as good as my last picture, and what I took it on doesn't really matter. My camera reviews are based on usability and results. I'll try and tell you what the camera feels like to use and what it makes me feel like when I'm using it. And I'll try and show you some results too. But one comment I received recently made me think. It was from EDHBLVD, who said, cameras like that have inferior output to modern smartphones. Some of them even have smaller sensors than modern smartphones. The sensor in the X10 is the size of a dust mite. I know, that's some kind of dust mite. X10 has got like a 2/3 of an inch sensor. An iPhone 8 I think has a 1/3 inch sensor, and I believe an iPhone 11 has a 1/2 inch sensor. I may be mistaken there, but if that's right, then the Fuji is definitely packing more sensor size. But as I said, the lens and usability far outweigh pixels in my book. There are more options on the Fuji when it comes to shooting. But I can't argue that the comment may have a point. The slimline smartphone is ultra convenient. Does that make it a better option when you're off on your travels? Well, in response to the smartphone comment, another viewer suggested that an X10 smartphone video would be a great idea. Well, I thought it was a great idea too, so I've done it. This is it. Today, I took the Fuji X10 out and I shot identical images on an iPhone 8. I didn't choose the latest model of iPhone because the X10 is available now for under $100. In fact, one viewer, Ger, commented they picked a mint one up recently for just 75 euros. So, to make things fair, I've used an iPhone 8, even though it would still probably cost more than double the X10 on the second-hand market. So what about the usability? Well, the smartphone is super convenient, we know that. Pull it out of your pocket, quick swipe, and you're taking pictures. The X10 is bigger. You can't fit it in your pocket, and it's definitely going to make you know that you've got an extra bit of luggage on you. But the payoff's worth it from a photographer's point of view. The lens, the zoom capabilities, white balancing options, color modes, the ability to change depth of field, the super macro facility, too many things to mention really, but what about the images? Well, here they are along with my thoughts, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'd love to know what you think.
So first up, we've got this poor old horse, which I photographed in the rain. Poor old thing. The Fuji's the one above, and the smartphone is below. I think you can see more mid-tones in the Fuji. You'll notice the smartphone's keeping everything in the background sharp, it's starting to lose a bit of focus in the background, which of course gives more focus onto the horse in the Fuji picture. So I think the Fuji wins that one. Onto something a little more tricky for the camera to deal with, backlighting. Now we find ourselves in the pub. No surprise there, I hear you say. We look at the Fuji picture. It's dealt with the outside a lot better than the smartphone. The smartphone has bleached out, but the Fuji's kept a bit of detail in the information in the street outside. With regards to inside, I think the highlights on the leather seat have bleached out a little bit on the smartphone, but I don't think it's done a bad job of recording the inside at all. I don't think there's that much between them. I think you could with a bit of post-production get those quite similar, but we have lost the detail in the outside. A little shot by the river now. This is the River Avon. These pictures were taken in Warwick, if anybody's ever been there. And there's not much to choose between them. A bit of colour temperature difference, and the smartphone below is a little bit more contrasty. One thing I didn't mention when we were talking about the cameras that the smartphone wins hands down on is the ability to get those pictures out to social media very, very quickly. That's something the X10 can't do. You're going to need to download the images to a computer to do that. So the smartphone wins hands down if you're looking to get stuff on Instagram and whatnot really quickly. Now I was forced to buy myself a little liquid refreshment just for the photographs, you understand. And so here we've got a little picture of the beer in front of me on the table, and I think you can see the X10 has done a lot better job of capturing more mid-tones. The smartphone's done a great job, but not quite so many mid-tones. But what about if we blow it up a little bit, have a look in more detail? Well, there we go. We're going into the glasses, and I think you can see now the lettering on the Fuji is just that little bit crisper. It's starting to go on the iPhone image on the right. It's not quite as sharp. Let's just confirm that. Let's just zoom in a little tiny bit more. And there you have it, zoomed all the way in, and we can see the Estrella star and the cold water droplets around the bottom of the glass are definitely sharper on the Fuji X10, and so the X10 takes that one, although I am surprised, I have to say, at this stage with how well the iPhone camera is doing. And back outside to a bench that was cut out of a fallen tree, a big old oak tree, and somebody's carved a smiley face into the side. The Fuji has captured a lot more detail in the mid-tones. Obviously they're warmer tones. There's a lot more contrast in the smartphone on the right, and I think it's quite clear that the highlights are just bleaching out a little bit. Maybe they could be brought back in post-production. Maybe post-production work could actually fix a few of these issues, but the Fuji has that one. And now a little shot of some flower beds, and I can't see too much between these. I don't think that one is really too much better than the other. I think they've both done well. Let's have a look at a Tudor house back in Warwick. I was wondering whether the reflection in the glass was going to fool the auto mode. I've got these on program mode, but both have coped quite well. Actually, I think the smartphone might have coped slightly better. It's definitely a warmer picture, and the improved contrast, the sky's definitely a little bit lighter, so I think the smartphone might have done a better job there. If you've never been to Warwick, it's a beautiful, beautiful old town to visit, and this doll's houses in this street here, you know, these are all really old houses from like 1200 and something, all at the base of the castle. Again, I think both cameras are in black and white, have coped amicably. I don't think one's better than the other. A close-up of some old oak woodwork here. And I think the smartphone has it. I think the increased contrast that you get with the smartphone lens is probably making the oak look a little bit better. But it's not done very well on this one. This is looking through one of the old gateways into the city, and it's not coped well. The Fuji has managed to keep the the detail in the darkness in the arch itself and some of the brickwork, but as you can see, the smartphone has just had trouble with the light coming from the other end, and it's just spreading right across the picture. Well, we know flash is not going to be strong for the smartphone, so I've just kept it to one fill-in flash. Get the light behind me, put a fill-in flash in, quite close into me. It's only a selfie, but it's struggled. The iPhone has struggled. It's just not good at flash. It's not one of its things. The Fuji has done a reasonable job of balancing the light on my face and the light behind, but the smartphone is really struggling with the flash. And last but not least, we've got this Tudor manor house in Warwick again. They've both done a great job of recording this. Their Fuji and the smartphone have done a very similar job. The Fuji's got a few more midtones, but overall I can't tell much between them, and I think that is my understanding of the differences between these cameras. If the light's good, if you're outside and you've got lots of light, the smartphone can keep up with the Fuji, but as soon as the light goes low or the lighting conditions become difficult or you need flash, then the smartphone starts to struggle.
So to sum up, if you're off on vacation, you want some snaps, if point and press is what you're after, a decent image with minimal travel disruption, then a smartphone is hard to beat. But for photographers that want enough options to get creative with light, especially if fill-in flash is important to you, as well as slow sync flash, if you want color control of your images, ridiculously super macro, this goes right up to 0.4 of an inch. If you want aperture priority, great bokeh, amazing zoom capabilities, and a viewfinder, great handling, then take the X10 with you. You won't be disappointed.